Iceland was created by volcanoes. Mountains of hot magma rose from the depths of the earth. Rivers of molten lava poured down their slopes, solidifying into a jumble of rocks. Ash rained down, creating these fertile plains. Earthquakes helped twist and crumple the landscape. Some of the lava fields, or high plateaus, are so vast, it's easy to forget the volcano that made them. Other volcanoes lie hidden under vast sheets of ice. They've become the stuff of myth and legend. But in geological terms, Iceland is very young. It's still being built. It's only when an eruption has consequences across the world that the rest of us learn something Icelanders know well. These volcanoes haven't finished yet. On the 14th of April, 2010, Eyjafjallajökull erupted with an explosion that made Iceland the focus of a media storm. The ash cloud produced by the volcano spread over the Atlantic Ocean and Europe, cutting off one of the world's busiest airspaces. Almost every European airport closed, and airlines lost more than $1 billion. The 6-day standstill was disastrous for the economy. Worldwide, the tourist industry lost even more money, and countless small farmers and fishermen struggled to make ends meet as fish from Uganda, flowers from Kenya, and vegetables from Zambia were left to rot. Sports events and business meetings were cancelled. Meanwhile, around the volcano, the skies were dark and ash fell like rain, covering the fields and roads.
We may have to stop farming and move somewhere else. Leave the place where I grew up, my memories. Nobody really knows what lies in store.
A few months later, the eruption ended, leaving the last few wisps of water vapor and a thick blanket of ash covering the ice around the crater. While the rest of the world forgets now the disruption is over, Icelandic volcanologists are not fooled. They know there are several larger volcanoes lying in wait.
Eruptions are, of course, quite dangerous, and some of them are really very damaging, both to human life, to human health, and to structures. In Eyjafjallajökull we had a relatively small eruption, but in some other volcanoes here in Iceland we expect larger eruptions than that. So we should never forget that.
It had an impossible name, but by Icelandic standards, it was a small eruption. The big question is not whether another volcano will bring chaos and disruption to the world, but which one and when. Iceland's active volcanoes lie along the mid-Atlantic ridge. A long, jagged rift in the Earth's crust between two great continental plates. The rift almost divides Iceland in half. To the east lies Europe and Asia. To the west, the Americas. As the plates drift apart, the cracks widen and lava from deep in the earth escapes. With one of the highest densities of active volcanoes in the world, Iceland is a magnet for volcanologists. For decades, scientists have had this turbulent land under continual surveillance, and Iceland has become a giant laboratory. The huge fallout from Eyjafjallajökull has increased the pressure on the scientists to provide answers. Paul Einarsson has spent the last 40 years studying earthquakes and volcanoes. He trained most of Iceland's geologists and is still trying to understand how this volatile land was created and how it could change.